How y'all doing this morning?
Doing good, feeling great.
How are you?
Feeling good, feeling great. How
Was
are you?
Mercury retrograding on your map
Who?
this morning?
Is it happening right now?
Retrograding.
What? Say that word again.
You know what, Ashley?
Mercury.
Retrograding.
Retrograde. I
on
don't
your
know what
maps
that
app
is.
this morning.
It's Mercury retrograde.
She was set up.
Retrograde.
You know what? So Felicia's not even gonna entertain you making fun of me.
She's not.
I appreciate
Felicia's
that.
being mean to me
Scorpios
today.
unite.
Yeah.
Now you see me throwing it out.
Wait, it's in retrograde for real though?
I don't know. I'd be saying so.
Yeah. That's what you get for listening.
I would ask you guys these things.
No, it's not. It's a full moon.
Is it?
No,
No,
I
it's
made that
not.
up, too.
I literally saw the moon.
it's not.
That
does
I
that
know with
even
my
mean?
eyeballs, even if I don't know Mercury, what
I
it's
don't
doing.
know. I'm just making up stuff. It's,
Also, I'm really distracted by Felicia's beautiful skin.
It
Your
does
cheeks
shine.
are like,
so
It's
glad
glowing.
you
What's
guys.
happening? You came in today
Punch
extra
in.
glowy.
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't put powder on.
Okay.
I just allowed my skin to radiate.
Okay.
Oh.
It's
What
giving
does powder
natural
mean?
dew glow.
Like a setting powder, like to put
What I
on
was
my
just piling on my
foundation.
face.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so what do you do then? You put like a tinted moisturizer on and then the powder?
Typically, yeah, to like set it, keep it in place. But I was like, I want to feel radiant. This
You
And
look
you
radiant.
do.
I'm like, this is going against what I want to do. I'm like, I'm very big on skincare and all the things. So
It looks
Thank
good
you.
on
Love
you.
it.
Got
Yeah.
the J-Lo glow.
It's
I appreciate
working.
y'all.
Maybe it's all them hot dates she done been on.
What's happening over there? Oh,
You guys, the dating experience. Okay, I was talking about this in the car. I feel like men are waiting for a woman to like pop off.
what you mean?
Like if I date someone, they're like, I want to see how you get when you're mad. And I'm like, you are used to toxic women. Like
Yeah.
I don't like that. It's almost like me saying I'm waiting on you to cheat. Like what type of? So I know.
That's so
Is that
weird.
weird or I'm tripping?
I don't know. I think some men maybe feel like they know how a woman cares by how upset she gets.
Girl,
But also, why do you want to make me upset?
I think
my
it's a
point is
weird
that
thing
wanna
be
to
upset
say
with
out
you.
loud.
I'm not doing all that.
I think it's okay to recognize that like you really can tell more about a person when they're upset, but it is a weird thing to say to you. Like, can you just
Yeah.
pop off right quick?
Especially
and
since-
I don't be popping off. Like that's not what's happening.
Really? What do you do? How do you handle your anger?
I feel like I communicate and use my words.
Come
Or
on, but
if
I
I'm
know that.
super angry, I get quiet.
Yeah.
I get
Pop off
all
sometimes.
I don't know.
Not all
I
the
feel like-
time.
I feel
Not all
like
the time.
I feel like you would. I feel like you're gonna spit your position passionately.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
We know.
And I do.
But I don't need
I
to
do.
I don't need to like go off on you. Like I don't
I
need
see what
to,
you're saying. No,
you know? That's why I was like, no, why y'all need to
Okay,
stop.
but in defense of that, do you feel like there's something that you want to see like a man do? Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe men feel like I need to see how she gets angry or how she handles conflict. Is there like one thing that you wish that you could see like a man do?
Probably that.
Really?
Probably that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not waiting like I want to see you get mad. It's like I'm not plotting on that.
I get that. I can see how that seems crazy, but on the other end, equally, I don't want to be surprised if somebody has like anger issues
Yeah.
and they're crazy
Now
either.
that-
Do you know what I
But
mean?
everything
I'm sure men
comes
feel the
out in
same
due
way.
time. You
said
know?
what?
I said everything comes out in due time.
It's that part.
Yeah.
It's like just allow it, like allow the happiness and the freeness to just flow right now.
Somebody
Okay.
who's looking for that is interesting.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
done went off on the top of their head, probably.
Okay.
It's
I'm
you don't wanna
like,
deal with it
you're
again.
used to dating toxic people and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not her.
I'm not her.
I'm not her.
Goodness.
Are you enjoying the content? Don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
fully a threat. Are you enjoying the content? Well, interestingly, today, y'all, I want to chat about this like video that Melanie sent us in the chat the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
So this was the one with this man. They were showing like all this footage of like how kids are taught in schools in Japan. And this man is narrating and he's talking about how in Japan they emphasize, I think they don't even have tests until what was it,
I
like
think it's like
third
fourth
grade
grade
or
or
something, like
something.
third or fourth
Yeah.
grade. And they emphasize social skills and like taking care of the environment. So and their school environment, the home environment, you know, they emphasize rest. And I think they said they didn't have janitors in
They
the
don't have
schools because the
janitors.
kids
The
help to
kids-
clean and take care of things, and just how they prioritize overall responsibility.
Yeah.
I think for me, it gave me a brief moment of like, dang, is it too late? Because there were a lot of really beautiful values that they were imparting on these kids that I certainly wish, at least from a parenting standpoint, that I was like more firm about at home. But
Yeah.
how much more incredible it would be if that was reinforced in schools.
In the world,
In the world, that part.
Yeah.
Not just Japan.
Yeah. I don't think it's too late to answer your question.
Take that.
I don't. She's like, yes.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, I don't think it's too late. That's I love seeing that because I feel like that's how I raise my children. Like if we go to get coffee or something, I make them communicate with the person.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like that's my duty is to instill that in them now.
Yeah.
But I'm very much like I think, were we talking about this the other day? It was like, if you have a question, like they know that mom is here.
Yeah.
But you guys figure it out together first. And then if you need mommy, then I will come and I'll be there. But even like, let's say it's in the morning and they want breakfast, I put the fruit where they can grab the fruit. I put the snacks where they can grab it. Like I have them participate.
Yeah.
Just honestly, just to equip them. And I'm like, and the reality is, if God forbid, if something happens to me tomorrow, right, me or their father, I want them to know how to do these simple things. And I feel like they're young and this is the perfect time to instill that. So I feel like I don't feel like it's too late at all.
No.
I think I was overwhelmed by like the consistency of it, right? Anything that we do at home hopefully has a big impact because we are the place that they go every day. But like for the whole entire, nation of Japan to like invest this time and energy in all of the youth, right, is really incredible.
Yeah.
And for many, many years.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful.
Ashley, you said you saw that doc.
Yeah, I mean, so this is something that Chia like stands by. It's very much something that is a part of like the Asian culture, but also African culture, Spanish culture, every culture but American. It's very like family oriented and like looking out for one another. But there's a documentary where the kids in China, I believe, they go on like a little trip when they're like 4 or 5 years old, and so they have to.
I think it's as early as 2.
It might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been, yeah. But I think it's like there's like a 5-year-old trip that you like leave your home and you have to go to the store to like get something.
Across the street.
Across the street, get on a train. Some kids get on a bus. But the community knows that this is happening. So they're looking out for these children and it's not a surprise to them. And this is like my friend, she lives in Amsterdam and she left America. She always tells me this. She's like, obviously it's like a socialist. So people have like their pros and cons of that. But she said it was so weird when she moved here because we had school drives. And she was like, we don't have that in our country. She was like, everybody has books. Everybody has school supplies. It's a part of the government funds it regardless of your income. So a lot of the things that are like normal here are so weird in other countries because it's more based on like community building and making sure that everyone is good. So it's wild to see, but then it also makes you feel like our children are so coddled but not in the best way. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not learning life skills. Even they took out, what is that? Home ec. They don't have that anymore in school where they taught you just like basic things.
Class.
Oh, wow. I know.
I was sewing and cooking.
And like wood shop.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that anymore. It's like they're just raising everybody to work and that's it.
You know what's interesting? How you're saying it's like a community thing. I remember one time we went to a coffee shop. And like I said, I have the kids order their own stuff. And the man at the register was staring at me, but Peace was talking to him. And he didn't acknowledge her at all. And I'm like watching everything that's going. They probably think that I don't even speak English because I literally don't say nothing. And so, and I give them my card, like they know what to do. And so Peace like, can I order, let's say it's like a chai tea or something. Can I order a chai tea? And he ignored her completely and just looked at me. He's like, how can I help you? And I was like, but I had to, I was like, she's talking to you. I was like, you don't hear her talking to you? He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But I'm like, yeah, you probably thought I didn't know what was going on. But I'm like, but even in that instance of teaching her, like, not all adults, sometimes they don't even want to talk to kids. They don't even like kids, It's like, but it's definitely a community thing for sure that I think would be game changer. Wish everybody would be on board.
I know.
Shoot.
No,
Exactly.
for sure. But for another thing too is I feel like you were saying like our kids are at home and then this is like the value system, but it is hard because they are typically at school longer than they are at home. So like if our school systems are not including those values, then you are kind of like batting in a negative a little bit, you know? That's why it's super important to instill that at home and all of the value systems that you want, but then also maybe looking for schools that are different and alternative that provide that. Like, you know, there's a Montessori schools and there's like, I found out there's a outside school here. What is it called?
Muse.
Like
It's a Muse outdoor school.
They
What
got
does
a
that
couple
mean?
of them.
That
They
just
got them in
nothing is
Silver Lake.
inside?
It's all outdoors, all outdoor learning.
What about when it's raining?
They go under like a little. They go under like a little
They probably
thing.
got some sort of
real?
like.
Yeah.
We have them by my house.
oh, so it's really all outside.
The toilet's outside. Like everything's outside.
Say
This
what
is
now?
wild.
But, you know, value everywhere.
To that point, like Montessori school, I remember we had Cam in a Montessori school when he first started. He also tried to escape from Montessori school 3 times.
3 times.
3 times, yeah.
Not escape.
Like, in that first
In that
period
first
where
period,
kids hate
yes,
school? Okay,
yes.
got it.
He tried to escape. He ran out into the parking
my
lot. He ran out the
God.
back door.
Oh
He
my
was like,
God.
I'm not here. Where
Dang.
are my
Oh
parents?
my God.
Yes, but I was really surprised. Like they went into the kitchen, they got their own snacks, they knew how to wash things up, they knew how to put everything away. It's very interesting. I also think too personality styles. Like if I compare my children for who I think thrives in those personalities, Kaya would definitely thrive in a Montessori personality in a Montessori environment because she loves to be independent. Cam is a little bit more close to chest, like let me know it's okay. Do I have permission to do this? He's a little bit more cautious. So I think also too the society that we live in dictates that a lot too.
Yeah.
Because when I went to Japan in 2000 and what year is 6, 8, something like that.
I wasn't even alive then.
Ooh.
Girl, who are you kidding?
So young.
Not with them 4 kids,
I
but go
went to
ahead.
Japan and I remember being on the train and these kids are in their uniform, 6 years old, taking the train, the
Yeah.
subway
Yeah.
to school. And I remember being like, what?
Yeah.
Like never. But nobody over there is worried about anyone stealing your kids or like crime in that way. The dangers that we have to, you know, live with in the school. Our kids go and have shooting drills.
Girl.
Like what happens if
Girl.
there's an active shooter on the campus? Like your kids have to know how to hide under, like, what is that existence? That to me sounds crazy. So when we start talking culturally about what is there, we also have to like identify the socioeconomic, government, all the things that we have to deal with in North America. Although we are considered a first world nation, we're backwards on a lot of stuff as far as like the humanitarian, the social community aspects, tribe aspects, care consideration, safety aspects. Like there's so many things to unpack there. So when I think about like these kids over in Japan and I see them being prioritized with their rest or whatever, you know, like and also
What was it? Mandatory naps too?
mandatory naps
Through like 3rd grade.
Yeah, but I don't know how true that is because there's obviously a caveat.
Yeah.
There was someone a couple Asian people who commented on there and they were like, they had a problem with the video because they said they were talking about Japan, but they were showing all different types of Asian people that weren't Japanese. So they were like, you could have at least used Japanese people in the video. And then they were saying that not all the schools do naps like that. They like that picture was actually a picture of Chinese children taking a nap.
Interesting.
So I mean, like always do your research. But obviously, the culture is just very different.
Yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
My favorite video is the one you posted on your stories, bouncing the basketball.
Oh, girl.
Legs. And the funny thing is that like the coordination, the synchronization of them together, there's energy in that.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I think we don't necessarily like have here in North America, is that like there's this like discipline of focus that is taught to children in different parts of the world. And what that creates is unity. It really does. Like when you can be in sync with people around you, and that is the goal, you know, like we are all in. And then also what they're doing is very complex things. It's working both left and right side brain, which is like super, super developmental. But that video for me, I love it. When I see those kids doing them things, I was like, can I do this? I don't even think I can do that.
No, every time I try it too,
I'm like,
I'm
God, I need to work on my coordination. But when you teach kids things at a young age, and this is just back to like what we're talking about, you can teach kids anything at a young age. Kids can pick up language, they can do anything.
Yeah.
So if they don't know any different, if you start to empower your children to be responsible in the home, responsible for themselves, have autonomy and self-authority over themselves, they can actually only know that way of life, you know? And it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't get to be kids. It just means that they're capable of applying it when necessary.
Just responsible. Yeah. And I feel like they feel empowered. Like when I have my children do that, I notice Zen, Mommy, I got it, Mommy. Yeah. He'll tell me, Mom, come on, I'm 5. And it's this face, I'm like, little boy.
I'm also a rapper.
Yeah, it's like, Mom, come on, I'm 5 now, I got this. But they feel very empowered to like do it on their own, for sure.
Cody, do you let your kids like make snacks or like do those types of things on their own?
Brooks, yes, he actually does a lot.
What about the other ones?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. But Brooks makes everyone snacks every morning. And he also recently made his Auntie Sean a sandwich. And then as soon as he did that, I was like, can you make your brother's lunch for tomorrow, please? And he did. Oh, wow. He literally made them their sandwich, because they do a sandwich and we cut it in half. They hate sandwiches, but whatever. That's what we do every day. And Brooks made them a sandwich, and I was just like so happy. But yeah, he does everything. He washes dishes. He takes out the trash. The mother
Such
too.
a big brother.
What do they do? They're so hit or miss. They definitely go through these phases where it's like, I can do that. But y'all know they also go real rogue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're like rearranging furniture in their room. But why? And I mean like today, not just when they were 2 and I was like filming them throwing their bed in the air. Okay. They have moved their bed in their room. Like they just take it too far. Really.
Girl, they need a show.
They do need a show. They need a book series. They need
something.
It's very entertaining. I'll say this though, because I'm kind of like this way. Like I really sometimes want. You see these kids online, and they're letting their daughter or their child, this one little girl, pour whatever they want in the glass, and they're teaching her that, you know. And like Neil deGrasse Tyson says this. He's like, kids are creative and they're curious, and they learn through figuring out that if you don't pour it in the cup, the water is going to go everywhere. And so these are the things that you need to let them explore and figure out how to master. My issue is that I don't got time to be cleaning up stuff.
That part.
Right? So sometimes I just feel like I want to get to it and do it so that I can save time and aggravation and all of it, you know, because I don't have time. Like I love the idea of kids being curious and getting dirty and doing all those things. It also triggers me a little bit because I'm like, I gotta clean and like, is this sanitary for the house? Girl. Like, so I struggle. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like go do that. Go do that at home. Go do that at school.
Right?
Go pour water on the
Aristotle
table
and
everywhere.
Love to do an experience, aka an experiment.
Oh,
especially with an egg carton. Right? Anytime we have eggs, which is often, they want to do stuff with the egg carton. We want to do an experience, and we're like, it's an experiment. And I know that means
a mess.
Water, soap, and whatever else. But at that point, the egg carton is no longer an egg carton. It's just cardboard that's now wet. Now, you know, there's plastic egg cartons too. But usually, it's not that one. And so every time I'm like, no, like I feel bad because like, yes, I want you to do experiments. But I'm like, bruh, no, I know you're going to go in the bathroom. I know you're going to overflow the sink. I know you're going to put soap and water in this cardboard and then leave it. And I'm going to forget. And in 2 hours, there's going to be water everywhere. Why are we doing this?
Okay, so as the resident, I have a 14-year-old, and I've been a mama longer than all y'all.
Indeed.
I'm just going to give you a little tip that I learned from the school of Lorelei. So obviously, like I'm super OCD. We already know this about me, and I was very much like all of you. And then my mom just taught me some key things. You should all own a tarp. And you should all own like a water tarp and a painting tarp. Okay. You should all have a painting experience clothes.
Love.
And you should all have a set of outside we're exploring clothes, right? So the easiest thing that I do is I just put those clothes on them. I pull out whatever tarp. Are we doing wet or dry today? Okay, cool. I pull that thing out in the middle of the floor and they sit on it and I do not care what they do because I just pick that thing up and I either dump the water out in the yard or whatever, but it's like easy. Like, and then we have a big plastic bin that has like all of our experience things inside of it. So it's just easier because I know for me, I was the same way. Like I'm not cleaning this up. And Amira got to do all the things, especially at my mom's house, like dig in the mud, blah, blah, blah. She did it over there. I didn't even have to do it at my house. But with the other ones, I realized like, dang, Amira's so smart. She's so articulate. She's so like all of these skill sets that she learned from being able to be free and free thinking and discover. So my mom was like, Ashley, if you just get these tarps, like you don't have to clean, don't let them do it on the sink. They don't need to go in the bathroom. Put it in a bucket, get them like all their little washable, we have washable everything, and then put it in the middle of the thing. She's like, they want to paint something, they want to create with mud and wrap that thing up, throw it in the garage, keep it somewhere else, you know what I mean? Or put it in your little plastic bin. But that way it does allow them and it helps them to become more independent.
Okay, I love this.
So
Yeah.
I would just suggest that because
That's a good suggestion.
Why don't we just go to your house?
no, thank you.
The tarp probably big enough.
She said,
It
she said I
is.
got enough kids.
But
Big
no,
enough
thank
for
you.
11
Y'all
kids.
know better than that. No, thank you. I don't
coming.
do community mess.
Okay, but wait. So when we talk about like parenting styles and how that translates, so there's some, there's some names out here that we've heard. You were once known as what? A granola mom?
A granola mom, but now Amir said I'm a crunchy mom.
Yes. So
Granola mom.
What's
get into
between granola mom and crunchy mom? Aren't
So I
those-
think granola
It's the
moms.
same.
Yeah, I think it's
now
the
you're
same.
older.
Okay, so I'm gonna break it down because based off of what's out here in the world.
Okay.
I would like everybody to maybe see if they what they identify with. Okay, so crunchy mom. The term crunchy mom is typically used to describe a mother or female caregiver who typically follows a natural lifestyle and incorporates it into their parenting. A crunchy mom attempts to avoid modern medicine, limits reliance on technology, and eats only organic foods.
Sounds like me.
Then you get
yeah, but you do. You avoid modern medicine, but you Google everything, so you don't.
I do.
She's like,
I
oh,
could
we
be a
died.
modern
we died
crunchy mom.
yesterday.
Oh, we're all
according
gonna
to
die.
WebMD.
let's get into there's levels.
Yeah, let's.
You could be a hybrid. Let's see.
Okay.
Now next is the Silky mom. A Silky mom is someone who practices a lenient parenting style that embraces modern technology, science, and convenience. A Silky mom is often described as a modern mother who uses technology and products that make parenting easier or less stressful.
Hello.
Next, Scrunchy mom.
This is hilarious.
That sounds like a combination of crunchy and silky. A scrunchy mom is someone who has a parenting style that balances using modern technology and natural solutions. For example, a scrunchy mom might have her children vaccinated but avoid plastic products. The term scrunchy mom is used to describe a mother who is a blend of crunchy and silky. What are your thoughts?
What are you, Fee?
I feel like I'm
Scrunchy.
scrunchy, but I'm not. We're not doing the vaccinations.
Oh, okay. That's for later.
Yeah.
She said, that's
I
for
know.
later.
I said, are any of your children vaccinated?
From.
Not COVID.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Vaccinations like
yeah.
chickenpox.
Oh yeah.
Measles, mumps.
Yes. Regular.
Marilla.
That's an
things.
important distinguishing point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
not-
that's very important to distinguish.
Because I think in recent years there's a difference now, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot
right.
of people who like are just like, yeah, we vaccinate,
Yeah.
but then skip that one.
Yeah, I would say scrunchy mom.
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
I'm scrunchy too. I think.
I think I'm silky.
yeah, you are.
Yeah, you're silky.
Silky Sonic.
I think my mom would probably say I'm a crunchy mom.
Oh,
Yes. I
Yeah.
think my mom would say I'm a crunchy mom. I'll be like, Mom, we only get organic bananas. My dad this is my favorite thing. My dad's like, all bananas are organic. He's like, you can't spray the trees. You know how thick that skin is? You're not eating the skin. He says the same thing about avocados. He says that. I'm like,
soil.
Dad,
They don't know.
they don't know. Who
Yeah, they
knows?
don't know.
So it's like, so he always gets mad at me. My parents, I know they think I'm ridiculous. Like, I know they think I'm ridiculous, but I'm just like, this is just how we doing things. And I also think too, even if it comes to like the organic stuff, like just to use that specifically, or like levels of sugar or whatever, how much sugar or dyes or all of these things. When we were growing up, first of all, my parents are immigrants. They did not take us out to eat. We did not eat processed food. They cooked everything. And the quality of food and the processing of food was much different back then than it
Oh,
is
for
now.
sure.
We live in a world of convenience, and you really have to be mindful. Like, everything is processed these days. So
Yeah.
I think my upbringing gave me, and not at the time, because I was like, damn, can I have some McDonald's? But at the time, now that I grew up, it gave me a really strong foundation about being aware of health and nutrition and things that are good for you versus things that are bad for you, quote unquote. So now I think naturally my kids kind of have that base level kind of, thing. Although Cameron definitely was like, can I have a Fanta? I had a Fanta once, Mom. Can I just, I was like, oh, you had a
I
Fanta
said I
with?
had
He's
a
like,
Fanta
when I went
once.
to the movies
What
with
flavor?
so-and-so.
But
He had
which
orange.
one?
He had orange.
Orange is the best.
The
he was
pineapple
like,
one is busting too, though.
And so you know what?
Let me stop.
The blue one?
The pineapple one
Ooh,
is
the
so
pineapple
good.
one, right? But the thing is, we don't normally drink soda like that. He doesn't even
Yeah.
like fizzy water, so it's the funniest thing. So I think it's the moderation. Part
Yeah,
of it. So that's
100%.
why I say scrunchy.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like there is a time and place. It's not gonna be our everyday thing, but in the right pinch, we gon'
Yeah,
make it
I'm the
happen.
same way.
Yeah, I'm probably like 90% crunchy and 10% scrunchy.
What do you get lenient on?
Technology.
Yeah.
Technology for sure. I used to never let
Yeah.
Amira use her iPad ever, but I do with my kids. So they typically are only allowed to use their iPad on the weekends. But then the other thing too is that like we live in a technology-based society. I don't want my kids to be like technology illiterate or whatever the terminology for that is. But there's so many educational games. It's like I don't know. They have blue light glasses. For me, I worry about like I noticed with Azara. She kept saying her eyes. I've taken her to the eye doctor like 4 times. She kept saying my eyes hurt. It's the blue light from the TV or the iPad. And like I remember, we grew up, we didn't have computers at that age, our eye development.
Yeah.
The first time that I ever worked in a call center, I started getting migraines, like so bad. And it was like the iridescent lights and me staring at my computer all day long for work. So I ended up having to get glasses for whenever I was using a computer. So I think about that with her, like I want to be mindful of the amount of like strain that's on their eyes, but they use like Duolingo and like ABC Kids, all this stuff, like these fun educational apps. So we use Duolingo once a day and they do quick math. And that's a part of their schoolwork. So it's like 15 minutes. I let them do the little lesson that's on there, but they're not allowed to play on their iPads unless it's the weekend. And they only get an hour and it's usually Roblox. But that's it. Cause I'm like, you don't need to, like they start to like dumb themselves down. And then I would say I probably made some leniences on food that I never had as a child. Like there was no dairy period growing up and not really with Amira either, but I'll like let them get, not Asia, she cannot have dairy period, but I'll let the other kids get like regular ice cream or something, or like every once in a while I'll let them try something, but we don't do food coloring or any of that in my house. It's just, I don't know, it's out because I see the immediate effects on Asia's skin where it makes it easy for me to be like, you don't need that. You see now that you're itching or your skin is raw, like, so now she, they don't have the stomach for like processed stuff either. Yeah. It like
the enzymes. Yeah.
Every time they go to a birthday party, they eat a piece of cake. They'll eat a little bit of it and they're like, it's too sweet.
Yeah.
And then they don't want it no more. And I'm like, yes.
I was talking about this technology thing with a friend of mine recently because evolution is a thing, right? Like we all evolve. It's happening, and I see it with Kaya. Like we don't let Kaya be on like tablets or phones, yet she knows how to navigate a phone.
Yeah,
like somebody gave her a full tutorial of it. When I tell you, she can pick up the phone. She knows where FaceTime is. She knows how to call family members. She knows how to go in between apps. I play my music. I want my songs. Like she knows how to do that. We've never encouraged her. It's just like downloaded. She came programmed this way. So I wonder what the future of kids and technology looks like because, we were told, okay, avoid screen time until 2 and like don't allow, but like their brains and the capacity, like we're slowly turning into computers. Right. Like we personally are slowly turning into computers. So I'm wondering if that changes, like, do those rules then change? Because we're the bridge, I think, where our minds came from an analog world going into a digital world where these kids are growing up in a digital world.
Oh, for sure.
They're not going to know anything analog. It won't be anything different. So what are they evolving past? I'm sure there's neurological and developmental things as far as like, babies can't see initially, So there's probably like physical things, and an expert would probably have better insight on that than us just discussing it. But I always wonder if like, by the time Kaya has kids, if she has kids, will they just be like computers? Like, will they they'll know how to work technology as soon as they can crawl?
I feel like
and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Their eyes will develop for like you said, evolution. Yeah, there's things that we have that our parents didn't have, and I think the babies will our cells and all of that changes. So maybe children will start being born with blue lights in their eyes, just protect them from the TV screen.
That sounds crazy.
I really wonder.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know, y'all.
I'm still gonna eat organic though. Grow your own vegetables.
But you know, you have to be careful with that because people get a 5-year organic stamp, so it only has to be organic when they get approved, and for the other 4 years, they could be growing that stuff.
Yeah,
not
there's
organic.
a whole
But
lot.
this is
Yeah,
what
there's
I'm
a whole lot of
saying.
caveats to
Again,
everything.
Sorry.
This
Girl.
in America.
Even like free range chicken or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
like,
pasture
as long as they have a
Tired.
like 2-foot space, it's free range.
Yep.
Like, it's crazy.
And eggs still cost $13. What are we talking about?
You can't trust.
But
none
I'll
of
say
it.
that too, even in, you know, in other parts of the world, like you see people, especially now we're on the internet, TikToks, all these videos where people be like, oh, I was in Italy, Paris,
Ooh,
I was
girl.
everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And I was
That's a
eating,
reminder.
I was eating wine and cheese and breads and
lost weight.
pastries and lost weight.
Girl.
Meanwhile, over here,
Girl,
the
remind
way
me to
these
go to Italy
GMO
right
foods
quick.
are, and
It's and you know it's inflammation.
Inflammation.
A lot of times it's not even like actual fat. It's like we are literally walking around inflamed. Like remember I was like, you are glowy there. You're like, oh, I haven't had bread in 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it was probably just inflammation.
100,000%.
Which is wild.
It's a good reminder. Like, though, it's a good reminder. Like for real, that what we put into our bodies affects how we feel and how we look.
Yeah.
And we want to feel and look good.
Yeah, well, we should probably live somewhere else then.
You look.
that's the plan.
Right.
And what's next?
Cody.
But no, Melanie, you made me think of something when you were talking about like just the evolution of things and even how we parent differently from our parents, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was reading this article on parenting.com, right? And it was talking about when it comes to parenting, millennials like us are more likely than prior generations to encourage their kids to live their authentic selves, and leaning into the movement to help gender nonconforming kids to be happy with who they are. It even says some millennial parents who were helicoptered over in their youth are taking on a freer approach to parenting, allowing their kids to explore and create without like constant structure and supervision. So my question is, how much of your parenting styles are influenced by your parents? And are there things that you absolutely stick to that when you became parents, or said like, nah, I'm definitely not doing what they did?
Yeah. I'll probably say right off the bat, the independence part. I feel like I had to be independent very, very young. And not by choice, but it's just because my mom had 3 kids and my dad wasn't around. And I definitely instill that in my kids, but I felt like growing up, I was independent in all of these things, but I didn't necessarily feel like I could call on my mom. Like I felt like I always had to figure it out for the most part. But the difference is my children know that mom is there. I'm there to help with whatever. That's why I'm always like, you guys, if you can't figure it out yourself, ask your brother, ask your sister. And then if you need me to come in, then I'll come in. But I'll definitely say that. And I think something that I would say hell nah to is the screaming and the I know that she was stressed and there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of responsibility, but I'm patient with my kids, you know, and that doesn't mean that there's not times that I'm like, go sit down, but I'm definitely more patient, and my mom has pointed that out to me, like the way that you're patient is like very beautiful, and I'm like, that's a huge compliment to me because they're growing, like we're all growing and figuring it out, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks.
What about you, Melly Mel?
I don't know, because I told you I turned into Donna the other day on camera. I sure did. I turned into Cam. I did. I think the patience thing is something I definitely think that with my kids, I communicate more with them. I speak to them. I allow them to feel empowered about what they're feeling and what they're thinking and what they have to say. And I'm open to having a dialogue. It's not just do it because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I was, brought up. But I also think that from my parents, there was this just understanding of like a healthy fear and respect,
Yeah.
which I think is necessary. Like, I don't want my kids to fear me to the point that like they get anxiety or get nervous when I'm coming home. That's different. But, I want my kids to know that like if I'm in the room, there is a certain way to act. I am holding you to a standard of respect and self-control and knowing that there's a time and place for things. And I think I definitely got that from my parents. It's just like they didn't play no games. Like even the thing when you were talking about like the screaming, like our kids are allowed to make noise. Growing up, we were not allowed to make noise like that.
Oh, yeah.
It was, my mom, when I think about it, she would just be like, why are y'all that? You know, but like.
They were stressed, boy.
They were stressed
Yeah.
out.
Our parents were
And the
stressed.
thing is, and I understand that too, because I really recognize that on days when I'm on edge, that noise just be,
Yeah.
you know, a little triggering. But, you know, but I definitely think I have more patience just to that point. And just more, I think I'm more open to communicating with my kids on a fair level. Not just I'm always dictating to my kids or being the authority figure to my kids of how you supposed to do things and why you should do them this way and my way is the right way. Like, no, I'm not perfect. My son has taught me so much. When I tell you so much about life that he's like my little guru. And I'm like, okay, Cam knows what's up.
Yeah.
And he's really the future. So let me just take a step back. And y'all don't need to be
100%.
You know, listen, the other day, I got to give you this story. Because now the little one, Kaya, she is, as you know, made of fire. So she was like, we were all in the bed. Everybody came into the bed on Sunday morning and we were all laying there. And then she was like, I done. And she got up and walked around the house, probably for 30 minutes by herself. I don't know who was looking after her.
Hilarious.
Hopefully the dog was checking on her because nobody else was. And then all of a sudden we hear, choo, 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 and we hear all these things falling into the tub. So Jared's like, Kaya. And I'm like, she's throwing stuff into the tub. So Jared goes, Kaya, come here. And she's not coming. He's like, Kaya, come here. So then he gets his dad voice on. He's like, Kaya, I'm calling you. Come here. And she goes, okay, I'm coming. Be quiet.
Oh!
And Jared, Cameron, and I literally looked at each other like, what is about to happen right now? Because it was two things. It was
Who
like,
she hear say that?
no, but you see, the thing is that she was literally being like, all right, I'm coming. Stop yelling.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
being loud.
Right.
Yep.
But it's like, he's like, but I had to get loud because you weren't listening.
Right.
Yeah.
This is my
You
life.
know, but her response was just so matter of fact. Be quiet.
Yeah.
And then she walked in. He says, you don't tell me to be quiet. She said, be quiet, Daddy.
Oh.
Yeah. And that she like doesn't understand what that means.
Yeah.
But she
She
kinda
like
does.
she like I'm not trying to
You
be
loud.
disrespectful,
Be
but like
quiet.
be quiet.
Like, you're
Yeah.
yelling in my face now. Like, and I'm already coming. I
Yeah.
heard you. Okay, I'm coming.
I'm coming.
wait.
I was doing something.
Yes, exactly.
Throwing stuff in the tub.
And exactly. And I recognize that that's actually just her personality. She's just very matter of fact. She's very
Yeah.
independent. She's like, I hear you, but I'm doing something right now.
Yeah.
I'm not burning the house down. I'm
Right.
just throwing my Elmo toys
And
in
if
the
I
empty
was-
tub. And if I was.
Oh baby.
Right?
Y'all would
but
figure it out.
But seeing your kids for that, I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that I see my
Yeah.
kids for who they are, and I don't take as many things as I think personally as disrespect.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
You know what? The I'll share this story really quickly. The noise thing. Like when it's a day where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to hear no noise. Zen has this little ball that he just keeps bouncing and bouncing. And my thing is no balls in the house. Like don't throw them in the house. But he's not doing much with it. He's just bouncing it and it drives me up the wall. So the other day I said, Zen, no more, put the ball up. And I just felt something, and I turned around and I saw him just standing there, and he looked so sad. And I looked at him and I said, did I just steal your joy? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, you can play with it and mommy will work through getting over the fact that it irritates me. Like, you know, and he
big.
was, but I was just looking, I was like, he was so sad. And I was like, Felicia, get over the ball bouncing. Like, you'll be fine. Get over it. So
That's really beautiful.
the patience.
And I think it's time and place too. It's like, you know what, on that day you had the capacity to recognize that you
Yeah.
need to get over it.
Yeah.
But on another day you might have a headache.
Girl.
Yeah. Also, and also, if you asked him not to bounce the ball in the house, then
Right.
it's not listening to you. It's his joy. Then that needs to be stolen.
I was like, I
That part.
will pop this ball.
Where that was going, she's like, and also, if he's not listening,
Yeah.
the joy needs to be stolen.
Yeah, because I think to that part, sometimes we can be over accommodating to our children, almost to a fault. And my mom highlighted that. It's so funny because my dad is very old school. Why did he say on the phone the other day? You always talk about your mom on the podcast. Your mama did this. Your mama did that. You know, hi, Dad. He's just like, I'm like, I learned so much from my dad. He's a very loving person. I learned love from him. Like, and he's so honest. He's never lied to me. He's like the kind of person who'd be like, no, I'm not coming. No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to. But I learned to not like.
You learn to be honest.
To be
It sounds.
honest.
I was like, it sounds like you.
Yeah.
Yes, he is, but he never led me astray, and he would never put me in a position to be like depending on him for something that he was clearly, like I said, said I wasn't going to do
Yeah.
that. So like, girl, figure it out, you know? And I appreciate that about him. But I feel like I'm very much like both of my parents. Like I was really lucky that they were both very loving towards me and like physically loving. Like they always give me hugs and
Yes,
kisses. My
same.
dad always tells all of his daughters were beautiful, always hugs us, always kisses us. And it's just like a really beautiful thing. And I'm really like that with my children. I'm actually very surprised that Chia is like that because his dad's not like that. Like they're not very like huggy, touchy, feely. I'm very much like my parents. And I think my mom specifically, obviously, like that's who I was in the house with every day. And I do parent the same way that she did, but I have help. So I hate saying, like, you know, we talked about this before, Felicia, how we were raised by single moms. And it's different when you don't have support because you are more stressed. You don't have anyone to tap out with. So I see in those moments where it actually just makes me feel really bad for my mom. Like when I'm on my period or when I'm sick. And I can be like, Chia, nah, get them kids and you away from me real quick. My mom never had an opportunity for a break ever. And it just sucks because that is what was causing her to yell or to be irritable or like, I remember the first time I had the flu with Amir, I called my mom like, girl, was you ever sick? Did you ever get the flu?
Right.
I don't remember my mom being sick and she had to have been sick 18 years that I was like growing up. Never remember. I don't even remember my mom laying down. I just remember her like in the kitchen cooking, taking care of us. That's all of my memories, never resting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild, but I definitely have her parenting style, very like free, open. Me and Amira talk about everything. She gets in a car as soon as I pick her up from high school and she downloads me on her whole day. And I love that. And I could talk to my mom about anything too. So I'm definitely very much like my parents. Like they were really open with us.
Have you seen your mom cry? Like when you were younger?
No.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously the first time I saw both of my parents cry was when Rebecca passed away.
Yeah.
I can't remember them ever crying before then.
What about you guys?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but as y'all know, when my parents got divorced, I was very much like shuffled between these two houses, and my sister went to college. So I don't remember tears as much as just like very much humanness. Like I was seeing them, my parents, as individuals in these new environments, and all of us just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I never I'm sure I can think of something, but for the most part, I just saw like vulnerability and like, yeah.
How's that? No, go ahead. I was like, that same thing.
Oh no, I think when I think about tears, I don't. Maybe there were tears in like rage, like as far as like, you know, conflict. If I saw my parents arguing or like, you know, my mom was upset with somebody or like whatever. My mom was always very expressive. My mom was just like, I'm mad. You're gonna know I'm mad. I'm gonna let you know how I feel. But underneath all of that, I know it's sensitive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure there were probably tears along the way, but like I never looked. Like I remember the one time I do have this story where I saw my mom cry because we got into a fight. And I went into her room and I was like, literally just like, you know, my mom is so mean. And I went in the room and she was crying.
Aww.
And I was like, what? I didn't know what to do with that. And I was like, what is this? I think I was about 12. And she was like, I was like, why are you crying? And she said, because the day that you were born was the happiest day of my life. She said, I didn't know I was going to have a daughter and I always wanted one. And she's like, and I just hate that this is our relationship. And she cried and I was like, no, mama, no. Like,
I feel that.
You know, and it really showed me the human side of my mom in that moment. Like, oh, you're not just here trying to like be mean to me all the time and be disciplinary and like you actually care about your feelings get hurt by me.
Yeah.
Like, cause in my mind, I'm just like, she's made of stone.
Yeah,
like, there's nothing I can do that can break her. And then you really realize like, oh, they are people underneath there, you know? So I will say that, also, that's another thing, too, that I think I get from my parents. My dad, I didn't see my dad cry until there was deaths in the family as well.
That's the only thing I could think of.
And now my dad is just very emotional. Like, my dad cried for happy tears, how much he loves his family, how much he loves his everything. Yeah. Like, he's just so vulnerable now. Men learn that lesson, I think, later in life.
For sure. For sure.
But I'll say that, too, from whether it's, like, different, the way my mom expressed herself, I do let my children see my range of emotion.
Yeah,
And I let my kids see if Jared and I are disagreeing about something, then they're there. They can see that we can respectfully do that. And then also make amends and come back and be in love again.
Yeah.
So I got that from my parents too.
Oh, my kids know I'm a crybaby.
I actually have a question
gonna
for
get
you,
these.
Cody. Your parents watching them divorce, how has that affected the way you parent? Like, has that affected your parenting style more than their parenting?
Not this man just walking up and hello.
Don't
Hi.
cut this part out. Hi, Tommy.
He walking like he own the
we
place.
love you, Tommy.
Are you giving everyone kisses? Oh, yay. Okay,
Hi, Pisces. Our Pisces.
Happy early B-Day.
Thanks for the love.
Pisces.
Pisces.
Oh
That's a
man.
good man, Savannah.
That was sweet.
So sweet. He
Now
loves
they
him
all
some
loud
Cody.
out there.
He loves him some
He
Cody.
does love him.
It's
some
I
Cody.
love
Like he didn't
to
buy
watch
and
it.
put up the on-air signs himself. How did that impact my parenting? So, okay, I don't recall being parented, like for real. And that sometimes sounds bad, but I mean that from the standpoint of, I always say I don't have a lot of memories before I was like 11 or 12 when they got divorced. Like that was just like, I learned a lot real quick.
Yeah.
And I really don't like, I just don't, I just remember life, you know, I remember going to school and playing sports and going to church on Sunday and like, but seeing my parents as individuals for essentially like 12 years old on, with my sister going to college and seeing that humanity, seeing just those individuals, of course, at the time, not processing it in that way, just like
course.
experiencing like, okay, it's just me and her, what are we supposed to do, you know? And with my dad, and even more so, it's like, oh, hello, hi, what are we doing in this house? And so it has made me want my kids to see me as human. Like it's made me, I guess, realize that everybody doesn't have that experience, and that most people don't see their parents as like human, a man, a woman, a person with a job, you know, just a person trying to figure it out until they're trying to figure it out as an adult. And for me, my experience of them was like my homies, for better or for worse, you know?
Cody, do you remember your parents arguing before they were divorced?
Nope.
See, that is interesting to me. I figured that because when you say you don't have any memories and then that you just remember them getting divorced and that's like the starting point for you of your childhood, it leads me to believe that they probably never argued in front of you.
My sister saw it,
Okay.
but I didn't. And so I don't know if that was late at night and, you know, she's sneaking in, you know what I'm saying? Or what, but she saw a little bit more of it, but I did not. I had no idea.
Did you ever go to therapy when your parents divorced?
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. We did like at some point, I did therapy with one of them, but it was like for them. I think it was my dad at the time. So when when my parents got divorced, like the way that I found out, I just remember being in school and like someone coming to the door with my sister, and it was like your dad's in the hospital. I was like, what? He was in rehab. I didn't even know he was alcoholic. Like. Wow. So I really knew nothing, and that was the beginning. Like that's my vivid memory of like everything changing after that. Wow. And so for my mom, you know, it was like, girl, I mean, I know everything now. Yeah. I mean? But and my sister knew a little, but like that was it. That was just the shift, and then he has his own apartment, and we in the house, and that's just what it was.
Oh, babe, that's sad.
I mean, at
That's
this point, like I'm
heartbreaking.
not to downplay it. Yes, it probably was then, right? Or was then, but it was also like, okay, he's okay, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And now looking back on it, I don't think of that moment as sad as much as just like that's the moment everything changed. And I am truly grateful for my experience of each of them as individuals.
Yeah.
Like I just I would not have had that otherwise.
Yeah.
And of course I could have had something totally different if they were like happily married, but they weren't.
Yeah.
And so I just look back on that and I'm grateful for it.
My mom was stone cold. Like, no, yeah, she wouldn't. She would show the main emotion my mom would show, I feel like, was anger. But I think underneath it was anxiousness, you know? But, and then my dad, like, we didn't have a super close relationship growing up, but now that he's older and we're closer, he had texted me the other day and was like, Fee, I've been so sad, I'm just crying, because he had to take a job on another island, and he was just like, I'm just sitting here and I'm crying. Like, I just feel so sad, you know? And so I feel like now they show more emotion, you know? Even my mom was telling me the other day, she was like, you've always been so emotional. It's just like too much for me. But I've always felt like that. So when I was younger, I feel like I was suppressing so much of myself.
Yeah.
Even as an adult, I still have a hard time with trying to express myself emotionally.
Yeah.
You know, it's not it doesn't come naturally.
Put it in chat GPT.
Yeah, that part. Put it in chat GPT. But I feel like in spaces like this where I feel safe, and then, you know, being able to identify like, oh, I have to feel safe before I can open up and really share how I actually feel. But for so long I thought crying, I thought something was wrong with me.
Oh, friend, why are we crying? What is happening? Stop it.
What is happening?
No, it's okay. No, we don't say stop.
No, I mean, don't stop. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
why?
Tears are good things.
What's bringing on this release of toxic energy? You know, tears
No,
are just
it
a
might be
toxic. No, it's
positive.
like, yeah, but it's like leaving your body. It's a
I'm
good
not
thing.
paranoid.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
You
friends.
know, different tears.
I
are
don't
for
know. I
different
think
things.
I'm.
Yeah.
I am. I think just talking about my dad.
Oh.
It's like I don't care about them getting divorced. You know what I'm saying? At this point, like, it is what it is. But I had a great relationship with my dad,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just sad.
Oh God, now I'm about to cry. Jesus. Oh, I'm sorry. It just sucks because I feel like I understand how you feel, obviously, from losing my sister, but like it's not my parent, and I do feel like that is very different, and it just is a sucky feeling. Like
is.
all of the love that we have for our parents, that transfers into grief when the person passes away, and it's almost suffocating because like we really just go day by day trying to like push through and, you know, like just keep going. But then those moments, like now when something happens and like a memory is unlocked, then all of that love comes pouring out, and you cannot call them, you cannot touch them, you cannot hold them. So it's like, it's almost like it's suffocating you, you know? And you can only cry, and then it's like you go through a whole logical process of like, I know they're not here, so I'm just gonna cry. But then it's just sad. Okay, I gotta move on. And it's like a sad cycle of grief forever until the end. I can never stop.
I can just like laugh because it's forever. Yes.
Yeah, it's forever.
Oh Jesus.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that when Ashley started asking those questions. Like, in all the conversations that we've had, I've never realized that kind of is a turning point in your life. And I think we can always look back on our childhood and recognize when we do have very like pivotal moments that give us a dose of reality, and it's like, wait, this is what life is.
Yeah.
But to even talk about it so many years later,
I talk about my dad, you know, a lot, or you know, it just depends. It's all relative. But when he passed, he was married to someone who we don't like, and so sometimes it's hard because the end of his life was really difficult. Yep. But just going back to like the relationship that we were able to have, and just feeling like sharing this. So my dad was an alcoholic. He was a doctor. And so at some point, and my mother was a lawyer, and my dad took house calls, which my mother eventually had to like start taking and covering for him. Everything ultimately was fine. He continued to practice until the end of his life. But, the stakes were very high, you know, for him. And when my sister was in college and I was like the person there, you know, spending time with him when he had me, you know, in terms of whatever, you know, 50-50, and spending time with her, I didn't know this, but I knew it in terms of what our relationship became. Ultimately, one of the things that he said was that I saved his life. Because he had to get better for me.
Yeah.
And I was going to be there looking him in the face every weekend, like, what we doing?
Yeah.
And it's just indicative of like what our relationship was, because like for me, I had him, I had her, I had my sister, just individuals, because we didn't have that togetherness, which can be really sad, but at the same time it just allowed us to get to know each other for who we are.
That's
And so
really beautiful.
I certainly want that with my children,
Of course.
you know, under different circumstances, and just hope and try to set an environment where they see me as human and flaws and all. So yeah.
I love that you shared
beautiful.
that. I feel like, Fee, when you were talking about your father too, and two things that's interesting is like when you talk about your mom not being emotional, but you actually like answered the reason why is because you're the same way, but you don't feel safe. It's obvious that like she probably was never given a safe space to feel emotional. Typically when people feel uncomfortable being in emotional situations is because they were never taught or honored in that space. So it's very uncomfortable for them, you know? But I think it's really beautiful that your mom is continuously trying to grow and change and that she recognizes that in you. And even your father calling you, like my dad does the same thing all the time. He calls me and apologizes for everything.
My dad too.
Yeah. And tells me how much he loves me. And then he'll just like bring up things from my childhood and remind me like, I wish I could have did this better. And he talks about my sister all the time. And like how heartbreaking that is for him. I don't know if I told you, but I had a brother who passed away, but I wasn't born yet. So like my dad has lost 2 children, you know? And it's just like really hard. But I do think that like there's a lot of beauty in you being able to experience your parents separately. And that is something that I try to create within my home as well, because my parents, I experienced them separately. I never experienced them together.
Yeah.
But I got to see them as individuals very early on. And my parents were very vocal about like why they weren't together and why they couldn't work out, but very much like being able to create that individual experience. I don't know. It's just hard to do, I think, in general, but also being able to see your parents as people.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing that we can do for all of our kids is to always continuously let them in on all of our feelings so that they feel comfortable with that when they get older, when they're experiencing like this is normal.
I feel like that's when my life, like in my adult life, I feel like that's when it started to become more peaceful is when me and my dad started to get closer, which has been over the past couple of years. Yeah. But I didn't realize how I was hanging on to so much anger still, and I was hanging on to so much hurt of him not being there, and I didn't realize just how much I was carrying it. And so now when we have these conversations, when I see him in person or over the phone, and it's like him apologizing and admitting like I'm a human and we were really young and I didn't know what I was doing and I'm sorry. And I know that he's sorry. I can hear it. I can feel it. I can see it. But I feel like that's when I started to really become more peaceful with life, you know? It had a lot to do with, I don't know, it's almost like there was like permission for me to heal properly, you know? So yeah, parents, it's very interesting, especially when they have you so young. I feel for my parents.
Oh, for sure.
Having us at 16. I'm like,
I forgot your parents were 16.
so young.
They're babies. They're not. Yeah, their frontal lobe wasn't even developed.
Even right, and even my mom for my dad, he will say a lot like, why doesn't your mom why doesn't she like me? Why doesn't she want to talk to me? Aww. And my mom was just so hurt, and I think in my relationship with the children's father, it's important for me to show them, whether we're together or not romantically, this is what respect looks like. This is what, healthy parenting looks like. Yeah. Me and your dad are individuals. And so I think us modeling that, my mom is able to see that it's possible. Mm-hmm. But I've had to talk to my mom and, tell her like, Mom, I feel you. I understand. Like how you feel is extremely valid. But also at some point, like, we got to keep going,
Is your dad remarried?
Yeah, remarried.
Does he have other children?
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
I'm like, my dad he got all the kids, girl.
Okay. But
he been had all the kids.
That's probably why, too.
Not been had.
Your mom is just like, it's probably just too triggering for her. And she may never get to that space because no one really wants to see the person who didn't treat them a specific way, treat somebody else that way.
Yeah.
Like, you got to really be in a space to, like, let that go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if not, then she's probably like, y'all grown. You could talk to him. I don't have to. Like, for her, it's not important,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gotten better, though. She's accepted his requests on Instagram. She'll respond to a DM. Okay. But I've definitely had to be like, Mom, like,
Yeah.
We have to, and she knows it. She'll be like, I forgave your father. I forgave him. I'm like, girl,
But the
way you answered that, I don't know, sis.
Well,
but
I admire you, and I definitely admire my mother, because I'm telling you right now, I would probably be that person. I don't know if I could look at Chia and talk to him and be his friend like that. No, I feel like it takes a really strong, because really as a woman, you just got to let it go. You know what I mean? Like if they weren't there for you, they whatever left you, whatever, you got to decide. Like I want my kids to have a good relationship with their father, so I'm just gonna push all my feelings down and be the bigger person. I don't want to be the bigger person.
Yeah. See, I don't see. This is the thing too. For myself, I don't push the way that I feel down. I let that shit come up, like up and out. And there were times where I communicated it healthy, and there are times where I didn't, but I always make sure it comes up. A situation happened, and Ashley could see it on my face that I was going through it, and I hadn't been this upset about something in a really long time. But I called her and I allowed it to come. That was my moment to allow it to come up and to cry it out, because it takes more energy for me to suppress it than to just express it, and I refuse to walk around heavy and be, step outside of who I am and be a light spirit because of this, it's like, I don't want that for me. I don't want that for anybody that's around me, but I think allowing it to come up and a safe space to do that, whether it's therapy or friends or, I think is really, really, really important. Like, it's easy to hang on to that. It's easy to be offended. Child by father of your children. It's so easy, but it's like, got to master that part of you, know?
That's beautiful though.
Yeah.
That's really dope.
After separating, one thing I can say about myself is I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I am that girl. Like, I am that I can't say it, but
Beautiful queen.
I'm so resilient. I'm so strong. I'm so determined. My perseverance is crazy, but I'm like, that situation literally has molded me into the woman that I am today. And I'm so proud of her. Like, did I know it was going to come at this expense? No, but I am that girl. Okay?
Yeah, you are.
Listen, I'm going to say this, because I know we've been talking for 12 hours. But I will say this to end off on what you said, even to our parents, everything that we've been through, everything that we experienced, every interesting fact, story that we didn't share, that we didn't know, only that we're uncovering now, every single thing amounted to us being who we are. And so I remember seeing Oprah say one time, like, she had a very tumultuous relationship with her birth mother. And when her mother was dying, like, she was like, I'm supposed to say something to her. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And she tried to find the words. And in the end, all she said was thank you. Because she was like, she made a lot of crazy choices in her life that really affected Oprah. But she was like, the one thing that you did was you had me.
Yeah.
And she's like, you said yes, being young, having me when people told you to discard me, and you kept me. And she's like, and if you did not make that decision, I wouldn't be who I am today. And so that is, I think, the most beautiful human part of us that we can always acknowledge for our parents and for everybody that shapes our lives. People.
Word.
Everything that they did, everything, who they are, everything that we've been through is literally amounted to all four of us sitting here.
Yep.
And I think we're doing all right. I think we are doing really great. I love you guys.
We gonna be all right.
Everybody here has a beautiful story, a beautiful spirit, and we literally came together to make this space so that other people could feel seen and healed as well.
Thanks for checking out the Mama's Den, and you see that link right there? Make sure that you click subscribe.
Okay, so question of the week, ladies. What we got?
So this one is from Rachel, and she says, potty training. My son, 2 years old, attends daycare, and they're making such a big deal that he is not showing the right signs, whatever that means, and I'm already triggered, and not telling when he needs to go. Honestly, I think they started too early, so I don't try to push him too hard at home because he still has time to learn. He tends to say no to everything and everyone, but is this normal? I think it's just a phase. I think
Y'all teaching 2-year-olds to potty train?
right.
I'm
like
was potty trained that too.
Of course she was.
Yeah, I just don't like the pressure that like schools and things put on kids because they develop at different, he's gonna use the bathroom
Yeah.
at some point in time. And normal, I'm like, what does that even mean?
Well,
So
boys
subjective.
take longer anyway. That's like a known scientific fact
also,
that boys take longer to potty train.
Isn't it 2 when you maybe start?
Girl,
You're
yes.
not
You
like
barely-
potty trained at 2.
Cameron started using the potty at, like just after 2 and then regressed and did not use it again
Yeah.
until 3.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yeah.
was just like, nope, I'm done with the potty. Like,
Yeah.
I think the instincts are right. I think it's a phase. And I think that when you send your child to daycare, they want ease.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have to think about another thing. And it's like, listen, like, first of all, anywhere that's like making you feel bad as a parent for where your child is at developmentally
Girl.
doesn't sound like a very, listen, I'm not going to be too judgmental, but I am going to say, like, where you send your child to school should feel like an environment where they care about the development of your child.
Yeah.
And not from a judgmental standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, well, he's not showing the signs. Like, he's 2.
Yeah. Also, like, why
got-
wouldn't they just like make? There's schools that have a requirement. If it matters that much, then make it a requirement that they're potty trained before they come. If
Yeah.
not, then relax.
Right.
School, relax.
Relax.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got pull-ups, we
That's a
got
good
diapers.
point.
What are we talking
Yeah.
about?
But
Yeah.
I think that 2 things. Number one, every child is different.
Yes.
So that like that out the gate. 2 of my children were potty trained at 2 years old. Like by the time they were 2, and one of them is not potty trained now. She's 2 in a couple months. She's not potty trained, and I'm
Have
like,
you started?
No, I don't care. Listen,
Yeah.
I
That's
did
the
not.
thing.
Let me tell you something.
I'm just curious.
I tried with Amira. I was like, everything has to be on
Yeah.
the time that they tell me, and the doctor tells me, and she was that kid, so it made it easy. Azara went to the bathroom because Amira was going to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, my mom potty trained my kids. I did not potty train any of my children. I don't do that. So I don't have the patience. I don't want to do it, and I don't do it. I send them to her house. I'm like, send them on back in some panties. So she has a method that works for her. Great. I'm not doing it. I'm not walking around the house with my kid with no underwear on
Yeah.
and then them
We
wiping
tried
up pee.
that.
Like, I don't want to do that. I would get a dog. I'm not doing that. So no. But I can tell you this, when they're not ready, do not do it, because
Yeah.
you create a negative
Yes.
experience
Yeah.
with the bathroom. Wait until
Yeah.
they're showing signs of readiness. They will regress at some point.
Yeah.
It is totally normal. It is absolutely okay. And just take your time. Like when they start going into the corner at a specific time every day, start taking them to the bathroom at that time,
Yeah.
you know? And then like actually peeing takes longer. Like the poop is easier to potty train. The pee is not, because it just comes like any old time. Do you know what I mean? So typically like your kid knows when they have to poop. So it's easier to be like, okay, let's go to the potty to poop. But they pee, you know, when they have a diaper, like 8 million times a day. They're not going to the bathroom at 2 years
I'm
old.
gonna be honest with you. I love diaper life.
It's
It
easier.
is so convenient. It is so easy, because Lord knows you got to travel with kids. You got to
Yeah.
go
It's a
anywhere.
new stage.
It's a new stage. You got to
Yeah.
stop, and then germs. Germs. The
You had that little one
germs.
in the, I used to keep the one in the trunk that you can fold
Yeah,
up and down.
Yeah.
That was
But
my
yeah, but if
thing.
you're traveling, like if you go to the airport,
What
if
if
you
they
go
got
to
to
a
use
concert,
an airplane bathroom?
Oh, yeah,
You
no.
gotta do the squat method. This is what Chia's family taught me. Like it's, I don't know if it's all Asian culture, so I'm just gonna put a disclaimer that my husband's Cambodian family taught me this. But like you take them and like they stand on the toilet, you hold their hand and they squat. So it was like that's what we always did.
They stood up on, they did this, and I thought I was making something up, girl.
No, this is a.
I was like,
you're
Cambodian.
Yeah, I was like, no, you're not sitting
When I was in
every
Japan,
time.
I remember there were bathrooms in public places where it was literally a hole
hole.
to the ground, a hole in the ground,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you had to stand over and squat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's
And I
like a
think
normal thing.
leaving the toilet out, you know, like if he's not ready to be potty trained, not showing interest, still leaving it out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
pressuring him. But if he, let's say you give him apple juice, water, whatever, typically their bladders are so small, so like 15 minutes later being like, hey, do we need to go to the bathroom? That's how I did it, and slowly but surely they end up doing it.
But it
like,
could be at 3. It could,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
been beating this mic up today. It could be like at
Man.
2, 3. Just
Tell that
take
school
your
to leave you
time
alone.
and
Tell
that
wait.
school to leave you
Yeah.
leave you alone.
He'll
Sure.
do it when he's ready, and he'll show signs of readiness, and it's don't stress about it.
tell them
Yeah.
the mamas didn't say relax.
Yeah,
Relax.
relax.
Tell them to listen to this podcast. How about that? Tell them for you.
Oh man.
You know I pull up for kids.
Yeah, you do. You're ready to fight everybody.
Well, we did that. We covered 32 topics in this episode.
what? How did this start with? This started with dribbling basketballs and synchronization.
What is this expo gonna be called? Crying.
Crying, lying,
All
and
the things.
And
parenting.
parenting.
Parenting. I don't know.
Man.
Lying,
Well, we hope y'all
trying.
enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you love us, to hit us up at podcasts
With an S.
at blacklove.com. Send us a question, send us love, nice things only.
No nudes.
Oh gosh.
No nudes. Follow us also on Instagram at The Mama's Den Podcast. And also leave us comments and notes and likes and questions there too. Okay? We'll respond.